Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explainer series. I am Kushagra Goel and very warm greetings from Law Prep Tutorial. So in terms of doubts, we discussed one thing related to notifying of diseases, right? That the black fungus disease has now been declared as an epidemic in different states. But there was a question that then why was there a need to declare the coronavirus as a disease by the central government? Why did it had to declare it as a pandemic, all right, or a national emergency? So the answer to that question is coronavirus has been declared a national emergency or a central subject under the Disaster Management Act. So that is a central legislation, and things under this then means that the central government will bear the responsibility of response in that regard. It is evoking that provision that the national lockdown last year was imposed in 4-hour notification. It is using that the central government decided when cinema halls will open, when swimming pools will open, all of that. And only later did the central government allow state governments to do it on their own, that if they wanted to impose state level lockdowns, if they wanted to impose restrictions on their own, they were free to do it. So that is the answer, that under the Disaster Management Act, the disease has been declared. Then there was another question which was related to the intermediary rules. So we'll be talking about it. As you can see, there is the headline about it. So we'll be talking about then. Then there was another question that what is the status of CBI? Is it a constitutional body or was it what it is? The CBI is not a constitutional body. It is a statutory body established under the Delhi Special Police Force Act. So it is created through a central legislation and not through a constitutional amendment. So it is only a statutory body. All right. So that is the status of CBI. Then there was another question, which is the last one for the day, is if you have been following the content on our YouTube channel, do you then require coaching at all? So see, the current affairs series is free for everyone. The topics that we discuss on vocabulary, the topics that are discussed on critical reasoning, all of that do form part of your examination preparation. However, see, the choice whether you want to take coaching or not is completely up to you. But as India's oldest CLAT preparation institution and the success ratio of Law Prep Tutorial classroom coaching programs, I highly recommend that if you are preparing for CLAT, you should do that. And in case you have already done coaching, let's say you were done coaching somewhere else, but you still need prep, so then you can subscribe to our crash course or take our mock test series, the test series. So that is going to help you in your preparation for the examination. So make sure that you do that. On that note, I'll begin with today's newspaper. So in terms of environment news, the cyclone Yas has made its landfall in Balasore. So the place where it makes landfall, the category of the cyclone, that it was a very severe cyclonic storm, less in terms of severity in comparison to Taute, which hit the Arabian Sea, originated in the Arabian Sea and hit the west coast of India. So the wind speeds here were recorded up to 140 kilometers per hour. So that is the category. Landfall in Balasore in Odisha. The name of the cyclone is Cyclone Yas, originating in Bay of Bengal. All right. Then on the right hand side, WhatsApp approaches Delhi High Court to challenge the new IT rules. Now, what is this? The central government in the month of February declared new intermediary rules. Two things that you need to understand. What is an internet intermediary? An internet intermediary is a platform that hosts content. It does not create the content on its own. It hosts the content of others. Therefore, platforms that do this cannot be held liable for the content of its users. So if there is a Facebook post or there is a WhatsApp status, let's say it's fake news. It says coronavirus vaccines lead to loss of general immunity of a person, or coronavirus vaccines make you cannot play football after you get a vaccine shot because it makes your lung capacity smaller. So that is definitely fake news. But can Facebook or Mark Zuckerberg be held accountable or liable for spreading fake news? No, because till now, as per the old system, there was a safe harbor principle that internet intermediaries cannot be held liable. But now there has been a shift. If the platform has been informed that there is wrongful content, they have to remove it in 36 hours. So let's say I report a content that this is fake news, this is wrong. Then the platforms need to have their independent officers who will then verify and based on this decide whether they should whether they should remove the content or not. Already platforms had these removal mechanisms based on their own terms and conditions, right? You could remove content on Facebook, you could flag it, you could report it, right? On Instagram, different platforms. But now there is a government compliance on all such apps to do it, big or small. The one that creates the problem, which this headline is about, is related to the traceability clause. That now, if the government wants certain conversations, WhatsApp is accountable to provide that information to the central government. WhatsApp's complaint is that what this would mean is, till now all conversations are end-to-end encrypted. To provide this, either conversations have to stop being encrypted at all, or each message has to be marked with unique encryption, which would mean that the other end, let's say I sent two messages, hello, and then second message, how are you? Now WhatsApp, the central government wants my chat until the message hello. So now to do that, it will have to have encryption on that particular conversation. But just like blockchain, each conversation, each transaction in a cryptocurrency, blockchain technology is individually coded. Now WhatsApp is claiming either they will have to do that or they have to remove privacy at all. Because if the government can ask messages or ask us to trace messages, then it leads to violation of privacy. Because basically, if someone in Ministry of Home Affairs believes that this conversation or this person is suspicious from that employee's point of view, then they can trace or track our conversation. Otherwise, in case they are not able to do it, WhatsApp employees can be put in jail. And this is what, on which ground the WhatsApp company has now approached Delhi High Court. So this is what this entire news is about. All right. Now we need to wait for the judgment of the Delhi High Court. Till then, we need to rely on the judgment of Justice Puttaswamy versus Union of India, in which it has been declared under Article 21, right to privacy is a fundamental right of every Indian citizen. Then moving on the left hand side, probe to removal of shrouds from graves. So this is an inquiry done by the administration of Prayagraj against the actions of the administration of Prayagraj. So yesterday we discussed that these covers were being removed because it was not looking good. Now the district administration is going to do an inquiry on its own, basically being a judge in your own case by claiming first removing it and then saying we'll do an inquiry. But what about the actions if this is something that was wrong? The administration should be responsible for marking all these graves as properly identifying the dead who are buried there. But instead of that, the government has stated we'll just do an inquiry. We know what happens with administrative inquiries. The country is reporting less cases, but the overall situation is still severe in the sense we are still reporting the highest number of cases in the world, and our death percentage has not reduced at any point of time. There are still a lot of states that have high test positivity ratio, especially in the northeastern region. Then moving on, farmers yesterday marked their protest, 6 months of their protest, by declaring May 26th as a Black Day, and they had called for agitation across the country. Today, May 27 is also the death anniversary of our first Prime Minister, that is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So you'll see different advertisements, different memorials issued by different chief ministers. On that note, we turn to the editorial section. Prior to that, there's one news related to Lakshadweep Island. So in terms of Lakshadweep, there have been different orders issued by the most recent administrator, who was the former Home Minister of Gujarat state government, that is Praful Khoda Patel. Now he has issued different orders. First, to establish a Lakshadweep Developmental Authority. That is what has led to protest in the island nation. Until his appointment, till last year, Lakshadweep had remained a COVID-free zone, but he had taken series of steps. Lakshadweep is the territory with the lowest consumption of alcohol, but he has now revoked ban on alcohol. Then secondly, he has imposed ban on consumption of beef. The population there has high percentage of beef consumers. And then thirdly, he has also implemented a provision or criminal laws similar to the Gunda Act, under which people can be put under detention without any complaint. So in that regard, and lastly has been the Lakshadweep Developmental Authority, under which people can be moved from their land under the garb of development and without any right to rehabilitation or compensation. So on the editorial section, we'll come to the main editorial a little later. Naturally, selection. Prioritizing the vulnerable in COVID-19 vaccination for 18 plus group is essential. So in light that there is shortage of vaccine, the state should now have a priority of vaccine determination, is what this editorial is about. So this is policy suggestion for the government. Then imperious missteps. So these are the steps that the administration has taken, and in that regard is what the complaint is, that Lakshadweep, the purpose of creating certain areas as union territory is to maintain their cultural identity, which is unique. Lakshadweep as a union territory has the highest number of tribal population, has the highest number of minority population. And it is being seen that the new administrator, who is the first political appointee in the Lakshadweep's history since independence, is now adamant to change the cultural identity of the region. And therefore, the editorial calls that it would be better that commercial interests, such as that of real estate people who would be interested in taking over the land of the area, because the developmental authorities' claim is that Lakshadweep is an area similar to Maldives, yet the resources are untapped. The potential of the land is untapped, and the authority will use its mandate to create more tourism opportunities. It will create opportunities for better fishing purposes. No such demand was made actually by the people there, and yet this is being imposed by the administration that now this is what you should be doing. So the editorial concludes that the center is inverting its responsibility to protect into a license to interfere. It must recall the administrator and reassure the islanders. Then we turn to the Nepal editorial. So this is about the long shadow of political turmoil in Nepal. This has been ongoing, and the latest development is that KP Sharma Oli, who did not prove his majority, who did not have majority in the House, recommended to the president, who is a close aide of KP Sharma Oli himself, to dissolve the parliament and declare new polls. The polls have been stated to happen in November 12 to November 18. So almost a 6-month extension in power to a person who does not have the majority of the House. So Nepal is also a parliamentary democracy, and KP Sharma Oli is now being seen as an individual who has single-handedly wreaked havoc on the democratic nature of Nepal. That Nepal is a new democracy. It recently got a constitution. This is the very initial stage of democratic institutions, and now he, as an autocrat, has been adamant on holding on to power without placing any accountability on his actions. That under his garb, the reason why this political turmoil has come in was because of his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Then, because he realized that his position in the party, which he was sharing as a co-chair, then he declared that he did not want to share the power, so he declared that house to be dissolved. Then the opposition parties went to the Supreme Court, stated that, see, this dissolution was incorrect. Supreme Court stated, yes, it was incorrect, recalled the house. He failed to prove majority. Opposition was given chance. They were unable to prove it then. And the president did not give them any extra time. So she again called in KP Sharma Oli. He lost the vote of the house. The opposition then had the chance to suggest a candidate. By the time they had the numbers, and even before they could stake a claim, he, despite being a minority government which did not have any authority to continue in office, recommended dissolution of the house. To do that, the prime minister has to have the command of the parliament. For example, our former prime minister Indira Gandhi had proposed earlier polls, right, in 1970. Now she was able to do it because she had then stated that the house, no one has majority, it would be better to do so. And then immediately elections were held. Similarly, in 1998, 1999. In 98 we had elections. No party was able to stake claim to government. The government fell in 13 months. We had fresh elections. But that was only after the opposition had been given a fair chance to prove that they did not have the adequate number, and there was no other alternative instead of having new elections. But this is not the situation in Nepal, right? And this is the political side. The second reason why he has been using his position as an autocrat to abuse the relationship between India and Nepal. He stoked the border dispute there in Susta and Kalapani, and he has been running a campaign, anti-India campaign, and using his position as prime minister to get closer to China. So all of this has wrecked overall certainty and calmness of Nepal's politics, and therefore he is being seen as a single individual which has challenged the entire sanctity of democracy in Nepal. So this is what the crisis in crux stands at. Again, the opposition has approached the Supreme Court that KP Sharma Oli had no authority to recommend dissolution of the House. Then moving on, the other editorial, Varying Power of Hindutva and Heartland, that is political narrative, not important for us. Then on the left hand side, the end of the road for India's GST. This editorial is something I suggest all of you should give a read. Why? Because it talks about that, see, GST in India and what its system is, alright. This is primarily policy based. GST, goods and service tax, has been there now since 2017. However, the success of GST and how it was supposed to give at least a 3% fillip to economic growth has obviously not happened, which is what the editorial discusses. It secondly discusses how the primary reason that GST has been unsuccessful is because it has become a tool of political posturing, that instead of actually favoring what it was meant to be, that is better taxation system for the entire country and give better facilities to the entire overall administrative structure and businesses, it has been now used as a political tool, that opposition parties are seen as someone who are trying to contradict the central government stand, and the state governments who are run by the political party that runs the government in center never or rarely raise any concern in the council and tag along the party lines, that what was meant to be states versus center to get a better representation of GST in general has now become a political bickering stage, which has now led to the erosion of trust and trustworthiness between states and center, which seems that GST as a taxation has failed. Then on the right hand side, losing the way with a map. This is highlighting that how Indian government, for all its claim of actually supporting India's cultural diversity, has the least expenditure on the cultural aspects, and the Ministry of Culture's budget is less or equivalent to 1/5 Rafale jet. That is the size of the entire Ministry of Culture, which is supposed to handle 3 academies, 70 odd museums, 3 national galleries, several national libraries and archives, cultural institutions of size of National School of Drama and Kala Kshetra, zonal cultural centers, and more. That see a government that claims overall India's spending on its culture and cultural heritage is the least in terms of its economies of similar size. So which effectively shows that how what we claim and what we do is so different. All right. Then on the left hand side, tackling rural economic distress. This is talking about how Manrega's expenditure should be increased to have better situation. Then the data point is something that points out that see how Lakshadweep in itself is a unique aspect of how things are there. That the percentage of tribal population there is approximately 94.8%, which is the highest in any territory. Then it has the highest percentage of land under tree or forest cover, which is 97% of its land. Then the share of Muslims there is 96.5% of the population. And within these Muslim population is basically tribal Muslim population. Then the overall crime rate in the Union Territory of Lakshadweep is 0 murders have been recorded in the Union Territory since 2017. Alcohol usage in the territory is lowest amongst the entire of country, which is less than 7%. And poverty percentage. So while it is being claimed tourism should be benefited, all of this, the region is pretty rich in general. That is, only 3% of the population in Lakshadweep actually lives below poverty line. So there is no real need to do anything. The area is like untouched human landscape where tribals have been living very harmoniously with the nature, and all of this has suddenly stoked a storm that was completely uncalled for. Then moving on the other national news. So here is news that Subodh Kumar Jaiswal takes charge as CBI. CBI is a statutory body and not a constitutional body. All right. Then dissolution and internal issues. So Indian government has made a statement that dissolution of parliament in Nepal is their internal matter and not relevant for us. There is no need for comment on our side. Then moving on, his center seeks compliance report for intermediaries that they were given 3 months, and now within 15 days they have to submit that report as to why and how they have complied with the new rules and guidelines. So this is now that in case these platforms do not comply with the rules, that is traceability and removal of content, do not appoint authorities to look into complaints, all of this will lead to liability from Government of India, even leading to shutdown of these social media platforms. And then the government has responded that the bid by WhatsApp is, so WhatsApp filing a case is not actually something for privacy, but is basically to avoid implementation of our guidelines and rules. So this is now once again face off between government and social media companies on their rules. So we need to wait for the court to discuss. In depth, I've already discussed on the front page. Then moving on. So our External Affairs Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar is in New York in US on a visit to get vaccines for India and also talk about, so he met UN Secretary General, that is Antonio Guterres, and talked about how supply of vaccine should be increased for poor nation in general. Then moving on the international news. So one major controversy that has re-erupted is security forces reports about the origin of coronavirus. That different scientists have released further research as to how coronavirus could have emerged from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That way back in November itself, certain workers, laboratory workers, had to be hospitalized, which shows that probably before the outbreak took place in the people, it had already taken place in the lab. So this is what, and then United States and different countries are once again calling on WHO to revive the theory and look into the origins of the virus. Then on the right hand side, we discussed yesterday about what has happened in Belarus, that basically hijacking of a plane mid-air by the military of Belarus, and Alexander Lukashenko's critic, that is a 26-year-old journalist, was arrested by the police once the plane was landed. Lukashenko is also seen as the last European dictator. In general, he has survived the Soviet Union collapse also. Then more scrutiny of Israel's rights, human rights records sought that the UNHRC has called for humanitarian violations or violation of human rights by Israel on its population in its territories, including that of Gaza Strip and West Bank, that Israel should come clean, otherwise sanctions and liability will be imposed on those who violate the human rights. This is being seen as the world body taking first real stand towards Israel. All of this should also be seen in the backdrop of Joe Biden, the new US president, and how he has claimed that human rights cannot be separated from foreign policy, that United States will stand for human rights, and therefore this is what is a posturing towards that. Then this article is important for us in general reading, that Quad targeting China Council General. That Tang Guoqi, who is the Council General of China, has now responded that, see, all of this talks of India versus China and China versus USA is something that is not what is in interest of larger world, and how India and China's trade cannot be decouped. And he has hit out on two things. First is Quad. That Quad is basically a grouping of countries who want to challenge China, that it is an anti-China thing. And at the same time, look at what we are doing. We joined the RCEP, which India withdrew from, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. That, see, we support more multilateralism, we support more trade between economies, while Quad as a grouping is basically anti-China or non-multilateral grouping, because as long as you are being seen anti-China, you will not be on their good books. That this is now China claiming moral high ground, not responding anything as to why countries see it as a competitor, not answering any questions about how there are security concerns about its 5G network, no answers about how it has abused the technological resources, used cybercrime and cyber theft to acquire these resources and abuse them. So no response on that, but claiming moral high ground. Then moving on the economic side, there is one news that Amazon is going to acquire MGM Studios, the famous Metro Goldwyn Mayer film studios, which has very famously Tom and Jerry cartoon series, then James Bond movies and Shark Tank, Legally Blonde, famous movies, which is going to boost overall Amazon. So once this acquisition is complete, users of Amazon Prime will be able to view content of MGM on its platform. So this is a bid to acquire that at the total deal size of $8.45 billion US dollars. Then on the sporting side, nothing of real note for us. So I will conclude for the day. In today's newspaper, the editorial about Nepal's political crisis in general, that becomes important. Then secondly, the origin of coronavirus, that is on international level, two important news. Then on national level, Lakshadweep, what is happening there. third is internet intermediary rules and right to privacy. So that becomes important. On that note, I'll conclude for the day and I will see you all tomorrow.